saw a departure of the president to Marine One. On departure, Peter Doocy asked the president where he was heading. The president responded, "I'm going to Walter Reed to get my physical." Marine One is expected to be wheels up shortly, and we will get some tape playback of the president's remarks as he was departing in just a few moments. And this, of course, ahead of a speech he's going to deliver, just announced by the White House a short time ago, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, where he's expected to talk about crime and public safety and keeping our communities safer. So we'll be listening for that.
Okay, in the meantime, we mentioned Daryl.
Saw a departure of the president to Marine One. On departure, Peter Doocy asked the president where he was heading. The president responded, "I'm going to Walter Reed to get my physical." Marine One is expected to be wheels up shortly, and we will get some tape playback of the president's remarks as he was departing in just a few moments. And this, of course, ahead of a speech he's going to deliver, just announced by the White House a short time ago, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, where he's expected to talk about crime and public safety and keeping our communities safer. So we'll be listening for that.
Okay, in the meantime, we mentioned Daryl.
Saw a departure of the president to Marine One. On departure, Peter Doocy asked the president where he was heading. The president responded, "I'm going to Walter Reed to get my physical." Marine One is expected to be wheels up shortly, and we will get some tape playback of the president's remarks as he was departing in just a few moments. And this, of course, ahead of a speech he's going to deliver, just announced by the White House a short time ago, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, where he's expected to talk about crime and public safety and keeping our communities safer. So we'll be listening for that.
Okay, in the meantime, we mentioned Daryl. Graham, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Hunter Biden's behind closed doors in about 50 minutes from now. You were there a week ago when James Biden testified. I think that went for at least 9 hours, I believe. I imagine today might have a similar length of time. James Biden said that Joe Biden never had any involvement or any direct or indirect financial interest in the business ventures of James or Hunter. I imagine Hunter will say something similar. Can you give us, since you were in the room last week, the context for those remarks from the president's brother?
Well, these carefully chosen remarks are similar to what Hunter did when he staged that a stunt outside of the Senate side of the Capitol, where he went through what his father didn't do. He said a lot of things. He didn't say his father didn't participate as the vice president. He didn't even say his father didn't participate as the father. And that's because the president has lied repeatedly, saying he had no involvement, he didn't know, they didn't correspond. Now that we know that's untrue, they're moving to more technical words. We're going to dig deep through those words if Hunter actually answers the first couple of questions without taking the fifth. Earlier in a segment, they talked about Lois Lerner. The reason we're having a private deposition more than anything else is we're not going to have that sort of stage as we're doing fact-finding. We want to make sure that we get questions asked and answered. And if he takes the fifth or refuses to answer properly, we want that behind closed doors and not the kind of stunt he did. You know, it's very sad that we're having to do this, but we're having to do it because the president and Hunter Biden and James Biden basically lied about the relationship they had. And now that there's lots of facts, including monies arriving at the vice president's home and so on, we have to ask these questions.
All right, Congressman, thank you very much for sticking with us. Happening in Athens, Georgia, now to Capitol Hill, where James Comer is now speaking ahead of Hunter Biden's deposition. Let's listen.
Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Romania, and Democrat donors. 10 members of the Biden family, including Joe Biden, either participated or benefited from the family influence peddling schemes. What was the Biden family business? That's been a big question of this whole investigation. What was the business? Biden family associates testified that Joe Biden was the brand. President Biden has repeatedly lied to the American people. CEFC began when Joe Biden was vice president. CEFC even gave Hunter Biden a diamond during this time to entice him to work with the CCP-linked company. The Bidens received a $3 million payment as a thank you for work completed when Joe Biden was vice president shortly after Joe Biden left office. We've learned this in our interviews. What that first $3 million payment that we unearthed in our very first bank memorandum, our first of 4 bank memorandums that we have published,
So now, Hunter Biden will be on the Hill in a matter of minutes. James Comer has given us a bit of a preview. On the Athens story, what we did not hear were the protesters fired up inside that room, calling the mayor a liar and telling him to resign. So back to that story also. And if you were watching yesterday afternoon, what was going on that witness stand in Fulton County, we'll get to that after this.
The president left the White House just a few moments ago. We've re-racked the tape. Peter Doocy was able to shout a question about where he was heading. Listen.
Mr. President. Mr. President, what came out of your meeting with Speaker Johnson?
And off he went. I'm going to Walter Reed to get my physical, says President Biden, and he has departed. Bill?
So we will find out more on that visit. I picked a heck of a day because his son's going to be behind closed doors for a very, very long time up on the Hill, and we should see him in a matter of minutes. Now, back to Athens, Georgia. We just want to let you know what we were watching. Safety and security around Athens, Georgia. It did not go far before you heard the protesters calling him a liar, telling him to resign, bringing charges of Athens, Georgia being a sanctuary city, which technically it is not. But this is how it went.
We know what it means.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
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 We're here to listen.
Liar.
You're a liar.
We're here to listen.
Liar.
There'll be time for questions.
You are guilty and got blood on your hands for this murder, sir.
Many of the aspects that are ascribed to sanctuary cities
We know what sanctuary
are
city
things
means.
that are disallowed by Georgia law.
Okay, so that was his answer. And in an earlier answer to Fox News, that mayor, Kelly Gertz, said that Athens follows Georgia law, as you just heard. But there is a policy in Clark County, which is not under the mayor's jurisdiction, that allows undocumented immigrants to be released from jail in certain situations. So we're trying to track this down. We'll clarify it for you as we go. In the meantime, the mayor is back there, and I believe we just saw the police chief as well. So let's dip back in and pick up a little more. This is the aftermath of the brutal death of Laken Riley.
Criminal background. That is a program that checks undocumented persons to see if they have a criminal background. Have you been approached for somebody to implement this program in Athens, Clark?
I have not been approached. Again, largely that's a phenomenon that happens at booking, that happens in the jail, which by Georgia statute is under the sheriff's authority. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. I appreciate your time.
If you take your oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, sir, yes or no?
Were there any other arrests?
Such Title 8 United States Code.
We're just trying to pick up a little bit about what some of the citizens are saying in the back of the room there. Regardless, Jose Ibarra has never been arrested in Athens. So it's our understanding he would never have been in jail, nor had the potential to have an ICE retainer issued. Now, in October of 2023, there was that shoplifting incident in Athens. He was cited, however, he was not arrested. So we're going to work through this step at a time, and then we will follow the life and now the death of Laken Riley and how her family's reacting, her friends, sorority sisters, and everybody down there on the campus of University of Georgia at Athens. All right, 28 past now. Let's move. Thanks. Back to you in Dallas when we get. In the meantime, 36 past the hour now. So.
And the spotlight is burning brightly on the southern border. President Biden and former President Trump will both make competing trips there tomorrow. We have Fox team coverage ahead of it. Griff Jenkins joining us live next hour on how Biden is visiting only a watered-down version of the border crisis. But first, let's get to Alexis McAdams. She's live in Eagle Pass, Texas for us right now, getting a bird's-eye view of the epicenter of this unfolding disaster. Hi, Alexis.
Hi, Sandra. That's right. We did get a chance to go up in the sky with Texas DPS, which we'll get to in a second. But as you mentioned, right, everybody's talking about the former president and the current president coming to Texas as we're all focused on immigration. Take a live look right now here in Eagle Pass, Texas. This is what Donald Trump is going to see when he shows up here to talk with people on the ground. That is a migrant there who just crossed the Rio Grande River, Sandra, tried to swim over and then is next to the razor wire there. This is happening on a daily basis, but where President Biden is going, that's just not the case. Agents tell me on the ground there's virtually just no activity there. Take a look here. We went up in the sky with Texas DPS to try to get a look at exactly what is going on here on the ground. This used to be one of the busiest areas at the southern border. We had that exclusive look at the border crisis. Our cameras rolling in that DPS helicopter as crews showed us those busiest crossing points they've been dealing with for years. Clothes covering the ground, hanging on the razor wire after migrants cross illegally into the U.S.
As the crisis continues at our southern border, we're up in the sky with Texas DPS taking a look at exactly some of the hotspots where migrants are crossing on foot. But it's not just that. They're also seeing smugglers on a daily basis.
And it's smuggling busts like this that happened right here in Eagle Pass, Texas, just a short drive away from where I'm standing right now. DPS tracked down that car that had out-of-state plates, which was kind of a giveaway here, from the sky after the driver from Oklahoma was spotted loading migrants into the back of her SUV. The migrants sitting there on the ground. This woman was armed with a gun, we're told, and arrested on smuggling charges. And it's not just those smugglings, but the daily crossings on the Rio Grande that continue. DPS took us out on the body of water here, the Rio Grande that separates the U.S. and Mexico, checking out the busiest crossing points and those hot spots. Hey, the surge has slowed here a little bit because of the razor wire, but the migrants not deterred.
Definitely with the fencing put up, and further down we have the Connex boxes that seem to help, but even still they still want to just climb over or climb on top of those.
And agents here say that they're dealing with these smugglings on a daily basis. They said that they could catch more migrants crossing here in a day than they can in Brownsville in a week. So that just kind of shows you exactly what the difference is going to be for what Trump and Biden are going to see on the ground. Another live look there, as you can see that migrant now trying to figure out what he's going to do next. He'll be processed and then released, possibly on parole. We'll send it back to you.
Alexis, you really hope that when the president does visit the border, that he really gets a sense of what you all see when you're reporting there. Carol Markowitz out with a piece this morning, having visited the border, really a wake-up call.